Hello everyone, welcome back to the Outlook series of the week of 23rd of February 2026. Today we're going to be going over Monday's price action. I mentioned on the first video of this series that I'm going to be following through with days that I think were vital to how the week is going to move. And I think today is most likely going to be the most important day because we did what I was, presuming Outlook to do. So remember, we had this presumed soup on this high here on February 18th. That price on last week Friday ran higher and breached this candle, and we remain inside of a SIBI on yes. Just a quick look over here. See, it's much larger here than it is here. And I mentioned that from experience, what I've seen is that gaps that hold on ES, and this is assuming that NQ is following ES. Even though this inefficiency here is technically inversed, it usually usually does not end up holding us higher. So that's what we saw happen here. So if we move into the 4-hour price action, we get to see a little bit more annotation in the chart. So we have Sunday open, we have London's high by side liquidity, and we have this nested sell side pool that was created on Sunday, 10 p.m. 4-hour candle. And we also have this big wick here that I view as a gap, that if price wants to move lower, it will push through the consequent encroachment level, and it will likely reach the other end. If we are, feeling more bullish, if price has a objective of, taking a higher price action, this gap here would be used as a point of resistance. So we saw that in the morning of Sunday, the night of Sunday. Price moved into this, created a sell side pool that rested just above the consequent encroachment of this wick here. I call this the nested sell side pool. It doesn't really have a meaning. It's just a way that I use. It's just a way that I describe pools that sit above or below, arrays or points of interest. Anyway, yeah, we had this inversion here. We saw that when price ran higher out of the second quadrant of this discount wick, we moved into this, creating a high of London, and then you see we do not breach the consequent encroachment level. Wicks through damage, and the body was restored. You see how the bodies remain within that discounted range, this gap here. So if we move into the 5 minutes, using what we have drawn out here, and also keep in mind this is also the low breaker. Remember the breaker that we spoke about in the previous video? We mentioned that this was a high probability drop, so it was very likely that we're going to reach here, and that's what we did today. If we go on to 5 minutes, this is where things become more clear. See, London created the high of day for some time before 9:30 open. So many people would look at this and see, okay, London usually creates high of day when we're bearish. So this point here probably is going to remain untouched. That's very, that's very well could have happened, but in this situation we didn't. So instead, what ended up happening was 9:30 open. We took London high of day. We created a new high of day that touched into Sunday opening, and also back into the daily CB that is now reclaimed after we found resistance off the low here and the consequent portion there. So this here is just a reclaimed gap now. We saw price move into that, and also we filled the consequent encroachment of the RTH opening range gap. So that's just around this section here. It's very near. It's near Sunday open. So that's what 9:30 opening his main objective was. From there, we started to move lower. We took pre-market lows. You see, we had a very nice pool of low resistance liquidity, and then from there, we dropped lower and lower. And I want to talk about possibly trade with my model. I've never spoken about my model on this channel, but it's pretty simple. We see that price created an intermediate term high here. We run lower, we'll run back higher, and here we create a breaker. And price inverses this gap here on this candle's closure. And then price finds resistance back inside of this inversion. And from there we drop lower, take an SSL side, we touch the consequent encroachment, and we see that we don't have any resistance off of it. And instead we push lower and we reach the other end of the wick. So that's this pool here reached. As for is tomorrow going to continue pushing beneath this? Who knows? Who knows really? I'm just going to have to wait until market open, and then from there I can do my assessment as I have done here today. Today was a very clean, predictable day. It was very one-sided if you trade ICT, I guess. But yeah, I would say that's it for this video. And for what we want to see after we breached that wick low, it's very, it ranges from lots of things. You can, find resistance off of the soup and inverse this gap, or we can just continue pushing through this wick here and fully close through it off of the support on this new gap here. So actually what I'm going to do is bring this drawing on here. I'm going to keep this wick on, take off London, and yeah, we just want to look for how price is going to move off of this gap. So what that would tell me really is, does movement off of this gap exist? If so, then the breaker that we created off of this turtle soup here is most likely going to play out, and then we're going to find support lower, or sorry, resistance lower, towards maybe current month low, or maybe further. Or we can see an inversion of this gap, and then that would indicate that the breaker that we created off this turtle soup here, and remember it's still a presumed soup because we didn't really deliver any efficient sell side, or sorry, not efficient, any major sell side. A major sell side pool I would say is this, and that's pretty much it. So we're really just looking for a scenario that ranges from this, meaning a disrespect of this breaker, or scenario this, meaning a respect of this breaker, and this can become a confirmed turtle soup. So that's all I really have for this video, short one, and yeah, we'll be back when there's more intel to speak on. Until then, as always, be safe, and we'll see you all next time.